Super. Great. Hello, good afternoon all. This is Jilt van Schaik calling from Amsterdam. First of all, welcome all on board. It was great talking to you over the past weeks, having several interviews and learning a bit more about your experiences, your motivation, your background. And we're all super excited to start working with you over the coming weeks and months and really make this a successful program, both for you as well as for us, the UN. So we're very much looking forward to that. Let me talk you a bit through the hangout today. So first we do a brief introduction from myself, but also for my colleagues in the Bonn office who are going to present themselves shortly. After that, we also have the UNDP from Bangkok on the line, and we have also the United Nations Volunteer Program Asia Pacific, who will talk a bit more about their role and their background. And after that, we get back to me, and I will take you through the guidebook which you have all received during this week. So we can go through it step by step. And if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat function in YouTube to ask your questions. Please also mention your name and country when you're asking the question, so we know who you are and how best to answer the question. And then we also take you a bit more through the next steps. So from here, I would like to give it over to my colleagues in the Bonn office. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. It's so great to see you today. Are we good? Okay, yes. Good. So my name is Laura Hildebrandt. I'm the global lead for the My World Survey here in Bonn and with the UN SDG Action Campaign. Just a few words about us as the campaign. We're a very small team mandated by the Secretary General to work with everyone, the whole UN system, governments, civil society, private sector, to get them engaged in the Sustainable Development Goals, to get them to learn about it and to dialogue about it and to take action on SDGs. And we know that the very best way we can do this is by activating people who are already very passionate about the goals and who want to take part in this amazing initiative to reach the goals by 2030. And this program that we're launching with you is a pilot program. We haven't ever done it quite like this before. And it's been just so amazingly inspiring to have a look at some of the CVs that came in and truly the caliber of people who have decided to join us in this initiative. I'm really grateful to our colleagues Nguyen and Yield for sifting through all the applications that we had. You are really the top of the region in this kind of domain. We've seen activists, we've got a great diversity of people who are joining us. And I just want to say from us sitting here in Bonn, we're here to support you. We want to help provide some tools for you to do your job well. We want you to be in touch with us regularly so that, you know, if you're having problems or challenges, you can learn from each other, and we can also try to support you. We'd love to be able to replicate this initiative in other parts of the world. You're the first, and we think that it's a great program, but you're kind of a test. So we put the challenge out to you to see if this is going to be a success. We'd love to do it in Latin America, in Africa, in other parts of Asia. So not to put pressure on you, but really to say that, you know, you can help to make this happen, to build this momentum of youth advocates around the world for the SDGs. Before I sign off, I wish you the best with the seminar. I'm going to have to leave for part of it, I'm afraid, but would my colleagues in the room like to say hello and present themselves briefly? I'm just going to pass you over to, okay.
Hello everyone, my name is Gayan Piris. I'm the digital strategist of the SDG Action Campaign, and I'm supporting Laura and you when it comes to technical bits involved in your job in promoting ASEAN. And like Laura said, we are very excited and we want this to be from ASEAN to the world, really, to take this initiative to a global level. So that's super excited. Let's work together.
Thanks, Gayan. I don't know if you've met her yet. Nguyen?
Hello, everyone. Whitley here, and it's nice to see you all again. And yeah, I'm from Vietnam, originally from Asean as well. So very proud to be part of the project and to work with you guys in the upcoming weeks and months. And yeah, if you have any question, please feel free to contact me and you and yeah, all of other colleagues here. So yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Thanks. So that's just to give you a little bit of an introduction to some of the people here in Bonn who are here to support you, in addition to Yielts in Amsterdam. And before I go, the last thing I want to say is another thing that's special about this particular program is the way that the UN system's working together. It's not always the easiest thing for us to do. And I also want to thank our colleagues, the UNDP Bangkok Regional Center, and with UNV, who have been with us right along the way, making this happen, opening up all of their networks and really driving the project. So thanks to them. I can see them on the call. I know that you're going to hear from them too. Thank you, Yielts, and good luck to all of you. Really, let's be in touch. We can't wait to see the results coming out of this program.
Great. Thank you so much, Laura, Gayan, and Gui for that introduction from the Bonn side. Maybe, Laura, can I ask you one question? I know we worked last week hard on a project in Mali to bring citizen voices, not only to the local government, but also to the UN. Can you briefly touch upon that, basically to show what the impact can be of actually conducting the Asean My World Survey?
Yes. Good idea. Thanks, Yields. UNDP and the government of Mali have been supporting a massive rollout of the My World Survey. Across the whole country, in every region of the country, volunteers have gone out and collected the voices of Malian citizens to find out their awareness and also their priorities with respect to the Sustainable Development Goals through the My World Survey. So people have been making every effort to ensure nobody's left behind. We've included vote collection in some of the less secure regions of the country where there's still conflict going on. We have photos. You can see people in the street. There's a blind man in the street who was included in the survey. We're trying to make sure that really all the voices of Mali can be collected in the survey. And what's exciting about that is, first of all, getting out there and talking to all these people, up to around 80,000, we think so far, in all parts of the country, talking to them about the SDGs. That's already exciting, but what is even more important is at the end of this process, all of these voices, all the votes are being captured and will be consolidated into the report that the government will give this July at the high-level political forum in their voluntary national review. So they've already committed that they would like to include those citizen voices as part of their official report. As many of you know, this is a big achievement for us who are trying to encourage governments to have this active dialogue with development for Mali. Now we just have to make sure we help to make it happen. We are right now literally gathering more volunteers here in Bonn and globally to help ensure that those get uploaded into the system. So it's giant undertaking, but we're making it happen. Yes. Gayan's going to say something else.
Yes. Everyone, make sure you join this channel. Click on the subscribe button below, because this is part of a series of videos that we will bring to you to help to do your job better. So make sure you subscribe, you hit like on the video, and if you have questions, use the comment section.
Great. Okay. Let me take this over. Great, thank you so much, Gayan and Laura from the Bonn office. Let me then now give the floor to Hani Meesters from the UNDP Regional Center in Bangkok. Hani, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And, well, sorry, I'm still figuring out this Google Hangout. Can you see me?
No. Yes.
Hello. I'm going to put it off again because I don't really look like an official UNDP employee at the moment, working from home. Hi everyone. Very excited to be here on the call with you all. My name is Hani Meesters and I work with the United Nations Development Program as part of their regional office in Bangkok. And we are one of the partners specifically in the Asean My World survey, together with the SDG Action Campaign, UNV, yourselves, and hopefully many, many more. UNDP does a lot of work around the Sustainable Development Goals. We have strong work around environment, around governance, around the poverty reduction and health. But we also do something which is something that I'm personally involved with, which is we call the broader integration of the SDGs into planning, budgeting, and in how governments and other stakeholders do their business, so to say. And as part of that, there is a big chunk of awareness raising and engagement of stakeholders, which is where this My World survey and your efforts as advocates will be feeding in. And this cannot be underestimated. I think this is really a very important part of making these Sustainable Development Goals, important as they are, come to life. Not only for senior government officials that might travel to New York, but for people on the ground at subnational, at local level, because we can't achieve this very ambitious set of goals without the involvement of basically everyone. So just to say that I think your work will be quite critical. The My World survey is really a tool to help raise this awareness, get people engaged. From the Bangkok Regional Hub where I sit, we will support you. We will connect you with our country offices that we have in the whole of the region, who are also working on these Sustainable Development Goals. We hope to be able to provide you with some of the materials that you might need, paper ballot, flyers, and whatnot. And that this is basically our journey, or the start of our journey together. I don't want to say to 2030, but at least for the coming year. So thank you very much. With that, I would like to see if Nadine is able to connect, because she is also working with UNDP and has really been one of the driving forces behind this, and has, I think, some more practical tips to share. Nadine, can you connect?
Thank you very much for that, Hani. Nadine is not on the line. I'm talking to her on Skype. But,
yes, she has some connection problems, I think.
Yes, she's currently working from Cambodia, I believe, and the connection is not strong enough. But we do have on the line Emilia from the UNV. So I would like to give the floor to Emilia. And in the meanwhile, if you have any questions for either Hani or Laura or Guyan in the Bangkok or Bonn team, please ask them on the YouTube channel, and I will switch back to them in a bit from now. Emilia, the floor is yours.
Okay.
Emilia, if you can hear us, you're muted.
Hello. Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Okay, hi, nice to meet everyone. My name is Emilia Asadova. I'm from UNV Regional Office in Asia Pacific. I'm really excited to be speaking to you today because all of you are volunteers. I just disconnected because I don't think the connection is good on the video, but you can hear me, I hope. So I'm glad, and I'm glad to also and salute to all of you and congratulate you that you are those citizens, those volunteers that are stepping forward to really walk the talk and be the volunteer voice. UNV, we work actually to support people like you and other NGOs and VIOs as a way for citizens to engage in the 2030 agenda and in the development issues worldwide. So it's great to see all of you, and just to say that volunteers are some piece of knowledge for you that might be useful is that volunteers and volunteer groups are recognized in the numerous GA resolutions recently as the contributors to the Agenda 2030. And these resolutions also highlight that traditional means of implementation are no longer working, and it's only with the citizen engagement and with the more active participatory means that the 2030 agenda can happen. So you are champions and you're pioneers on that in a way. I just want to say a few things of how we are working in the region with volunteers and youth to support. We have the 2030 Youth Force, which is a regional youth network on the 2030 agenda. It's active in 6 countries, and I know actually two of our volunteer co-founders of the network are the advocates for the ASEAN My World survey. So I'm happy to know about this, and hi to Jules and Rizky. We support them through capacity building and through also some supporting their actions on the ground on the SDGs. And I think the people, Rizky and Jules, can you can learn a lot from these people because they have been engaged at the community work on the SDGs on the ground in remote communities, including trying to include the hard to reach or youth or LGBTI youth, etc. We are also have been part of the voluntary national reviews, which are the reports. I think Hani mentioned this, the reports that the governments make on the progress of the SDG achievements. And we had the volunteer consultations in Laos, where we tried to make the voice of volunteers heard on what are the priorities and, most importantly, what are the concrete roles that volunteers can play and what they can do for achieving some of the SDGs. And also on the side of, from our side, to support you guys on the ASEAN My World survey, I think we could do some capacity building for you to maybe give you more understanding of how other examples of bring some volunteer examples from other countries on SDGs, and we also have some toolkits and materials. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for that, Emilia. It's great to have the support from both the UNEP hub in Bangkok as well as from the UNV in the region. And we are very much looking forward to working together on this project, as well as I'm sure that the advocates are very much interested and open to use some of your toolkits and some of your guidance and all of that. So we'll definitely be in touch and see how we can make all of this possible. Maybe I can, until now, have there been questions coming in? Is my colleague Ngoy on the line? Have you been able to see if there are any questions? And if so, can I hand it back over to you?
No questions.
No questions so far? Okay, in that case, let me start with going with all of you through the guidebook. And I think this is really the moment for you to start asking questions if anything is unclear or is there something else you would like to know. So let's share my screen. Where do I find the guidebook? 1 second. Yes, screen, application window. Yes, here we go. So you can now all see the guidebook in front of you, which you also have received earlier this week via email. And I think it's just important to go through it step by step to make sure that we're all on the same path. And please feel free to ask questions at any moment so that we're able to address them and really get you all started and on board. I think it starts with, of course, the official message of welcome on board from our director, Mitchell Toomey. He has also shared with you your official letter of appointment. Unfortunately, Mitchell is unable to join this call today, but I'm sure we are able to talk to him later during this program. Mitchell is based in New York at the UN headquarters, So due to time differences, it's very early in the morning there. So that's what complicated the process. Yeah, so the first part is a bit about advocating for the SDGs. Why is it important? Why does it matter? And why are we actually all caring about this this important issue? Next week we have a call also. It's listed in the guidebook later on, in which we go a bit deeper in on the Sustainable Development Goals, the tools, the implementation, the accountability measures that are needed, and all of that. So I will come back to that in a brief moment from now. About the program, yeah, it's really about raising awareness for both the Sustainable Development Goals as well as the ASEAN Community Vision 2025. It's to collect citizen data and use that input through the ASEAN My World Survey. But much more than just collecting data, it's really to use that data to lobby and advocate for meaningful changes, both at local, national, and global level. And for the global level, my colleague Laura just shared an example of how citizens' voices in Mali were used to present global data at the UN headquarters during the high-level political forum that's coming up on this July. But even more than let's say just having you raise awareness, having you collect data and lobby, advocate for concrete policy changes, we would also really remind you or encourage you to see what concrete changes can we do ourselves. So how can we have an impact in our daily lives? But also the people you're going to reach out to. How can you mobilize, activate, inspire them really to become SDG change makers as well, and really take up the mandate and help us bring closer to the ultimate goal of achieving all of those goals in 2030, which is far from an easy task. Yeah, responsibility and task, we have touched upon this a couple of times. First of all, in the application form, then we talked about it during the interview, and we discussed some of the strategies that could be implemented and how it differs per community and per region and whatever is relevant for you. I think what's really important for all of you is that if you will go through these 4 toolkits, which I mentioned here, the first one is basically a basic introduction, how to get started, how can you use offline data collection, so using paper ballots, as well as how to use the online data collection. A bit later in the toolkit, we share with you a unique URL. So if you share that link with whoever it is online and people vote through that link, the votes will automatically collected on your name. So that's a great way for yourself to see how effective are your campaigns. So if you do an online campaign and you might have 10,000 followers on Facebook, you might have a network with 50,000 followers, but really by tracking this link, you can see actually what is the transversion rate. How many of those people are actually really taking the survey, and how many just click a like and leave it by that. And that's something we have noticed in the past, that it's having a big network, having a lot of followers, not automatically translate into getting those followers also to get to vote. I think that's one of the bigger challenges in general in the world as we speak. It's how do you transfer likes into concrete action? Because it's easy to say one thing behind a computer and to press a like button, but to really engage them, get them involved, get them to take a survey, which takes a bit longer, and even from the survey to take offline actions, it's a whole nother level. So we encourage you to really go to the How to Get Started toolkit. The same counts for the campaign toolkit, but 2 weeks from now we will also have an online webinar in which we tell a bit more about how to build your own campaign, what's important, what's not, provide you some advice. And at the same moment, I'm sure all of you have done already great things in your region, in your countries. So this is also the time for you to share then with the other advocates some of your best practices. Because in the end of the day, you know best what works in your country, your region, and in your local community. Because me sitting here from Amsterdam or my colleagues from Bonn, our realities are often very different than the situation in Kuala Lumpur. And then in Kuala Lumpur already is very different than from a situation in a rural area or more remote place. Then we come at the Humans of My World series. Some of you might be familiar with the Humans of New York project. It's a bit in line with that, but then the stories are related to the SDGs. You see here we have a Humans of Our World toolkit, which explains a bit more how to collect your story, what do you need to look for, how to take the picture and all of that. We have our Facebook page where some of those stories are documented. So you can go and scroll through them to really see what have people done in the past and what worked and what didn't work. And then there's also a book here which I added. It's called Youth Voices Behind the Global Goals. And let me open the book quickly now. First you see me, Hal, it's me. So now you see the book. And in this book, you basically see that some of those Humans of My World stories, which are also up to Facebook, are grouped together in this book. So we have here Humans of Spain. So these are the people that were spoken to in Spain. And actually, maybe a cool thing to say is that all the stories in the book I collected with my team of Building Bridges. At that time, I was a youth advocate myself. I was not working for the UN. I was not sitting in a suit and tie, but I was leading youth advocacy efforts on the ground. And as part of my foundation, which is called Building Bridges, we cycled from Amsterdam to Cape Town. So for 6 months, we were every day on the bike, cycling over 100 kilometers a day, sometimes even 150. Then, at the end of the day, we didn't stay in fancy hotels. We didn't book a hostel. We just asked people on the street, hey, can we stay tonight at your place? And then often, if not all of the times, we were welcomed within 1 or 2 times asking. We got to stay at a person's house. And basically those people or those persons or people we interviewed to get to know their story and why the SDGs or Sustainable Development Goals matter in their lives. So if you go to this book, you see a mix of those personal stories per country. We cycled to 21 countries over 17,000 kilometers in 6 months. To see that's really me. This is me on the bike. But I want to share you the story, for example, of Mohammed, and basically to explain to you how a combination of data, which you're going to collect through the Asean My World survey, and personal stories, such as the Humans of My World campaign, can really make an impact. When we arrived in northern Morocco, we had cycled a long day. I remember it was up and down different hills and mountains, and we did almost 150 kilometers that day. Then at the end of the day, we were tired. We were looking for a place to stay, and we met Mohammed, who you see here. You don't see his face because he asked us that he didn't want to be visible with his eyes and face. Because his story is that his mother got very sick. He used to live in the Atlas Mountains in Morocco. His mother got very sick. And in order to earn enough money for her to pay her healthcare, he had to move to the north of Morocco, where there is a bit more of employability and where there are a bit more economic opportunities. So when we met him, he was working on a farmland in the north of Morocco. And when he told us the story, he also told us that still now, having moved to the north, he wasn't able to earn enough money to basically pay for his living conditions, as well as to send money back home for his mother healthcare. So what he told us is that in the summer, which was the summer of 2015, that he was going to try to migrate from northern Morocco to the European continent, to Spain. And he said in the summer, the water between Spain and Morocco is at the lowest, so then I have the best chance. So together with a group of friends, he was building a boat from wooden planks, and he also showed us that workplace. And at that moment, we were like very touched and touched by the story and having to see how many efforts and how many barriers someone needs to come over to win before actually reaching somewhere, the end goal. But nevertheless, a few weeks later, we cycled on in Mauritania with a call with all the UN ambassadors from the UN, the UN Youth Envoy, Dutch Minister of Foreign Affairs, and many others. And basically, we presented some of the data we had collected, but we also presented the personal stories. And well, beforehand, a lot of the discussions around the table were going about how can we build higher walls around Europe to prevent migrants coming in? How can we basically block people from moving? Up and sharing this story, it really changed from actually how can we invest in grassroots causes? How can we invest in local employability situations in both Northern Africa and Western Africa, in order that there's no need for them to migrate. And then a few weeks later, we were still cycling. I believe by then we were in either Congo or Angola. We got a message from the Dutch Minister of Foreign Affairs saying that they had created a fund of 500 million euro to actually invest in youth entrepreneurship and youth economic opportunities in that region. So I think that's one example of how sometimes data merged with personal stories and a successful advocacy campaign can have some impact. So that's what we always hope you to keep in mind. How are you going to use the data you collect? How are you going to use the personal stories to actually have a concrete impact? And that can be at local, national, or global level. So that's to say on this book and the Humans of My World campaign and how it all comes together. Let me now go back to the toolkit again. Application window. Yes, we are here. Okay. Great. Let me go back to the toolkit also on my screen. If you can see it, but not me. 1 second. Yes. So that's about the youth voices behind the Global Goals Toolkit. Let me connect with my colleague to see. I'm just getting a link from her to see if there are any questions so far.
Yes, this is Gayan. I can read out the questions so you can answer them if that is okay with you.
Yes, perfect.
All right. And first of all, I apologize. I get some of your names wrong. There is a question from Shafkat Fahmy. I was reading the guideline and the introduction section says the change makers will lead right where they are. I'm wondering what this means. And he follows it up with saying, for example, what happens if hypothetically I want to feature the work of an NGO working in an ASEAN country, but the NGO is registered in Singapore? Are there jurisdictional barriers?
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that question. What we mean with that is, first of all, that we want you indeed to lead where you are. So often what I see or what we feel is that people overlook their own communities and move, for example, to a capital or somewhere else to start the advocacy efforts. So what we want to say is, no matter where you are, you can have an impact and you can start. So if you are based in a university, you can start there. If you are based in a smaller community, you can start there. But with that, we don't want you to limit to it. So feel free to cross regions, cross borders, and for example, if you are based in Singapore and there's a different barrier, that's not the problem. So we don't want to limit you. We just want to point out that that really on all levels you can have an impact. And most of the time it's easiest to start right where you are, whether it is in your organization, in your company, or even within your family or community, whatever it is.
Thank you, Yels. I have another question from Cambodia, Nen from Cambodia. What and why citizens' data are important to ASEAN My World 2030 survey? What will this be used for? I guess you answered that question with Mohammed's story, but if you want to elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think it's at the central of the whole program. Why do we collect this data? And it's really to basically, I think, 2 or 3 things. One is to inform better policies, because we have a group of leaders who rule our countries, but they don't always know what's going on the grassroots level. They don't know what's really going on in people's life. So if we get people to speak out and basically say like, hey, these are my priorities, or these are the challenges I face, then when you bring that data to policymakers or to the leaders, they will be better able to, 1, understand the problem, and 2, to create better policies to actually address them and come up with solutions. And one example indeed I just gave is how the story of Mohammed and the data we collected then helped to create more economic opportunities for young people in, for example, the Moroccan region. So that this is very much at the heart of the program and at the heart of our mandate. We really want to bring people's voices to not only the UN, but also to local, national, and global level, so that no matter where we are, we have informed policies and we create solutions for local problems that really matter in the eyes of the people.
Thank you, Yels. So there's another question from Lipia from Cambodia. Her question is about participants. The program says ASEAN, but I don't see participants from Laos.
Yes, that's also a very valid question. Actually, we had opened the applications for the 10 countries, and we received over 350 applications. We also received a good number of applications from Laos, but basically looking and comparing them to the quality of the applications from the other countries and from all of you on the call, we really felt that although we tried to be inclusive and have advocates from all of the countries, the level and the quality of those applications were not at the same level as yours. So that's why we decided to go ahead with the applications and the advocates from 9 countries. And then hopefully in the next round, or when the program continues, we also get stronger applicants from Laos.
Thank you, Els. I have 2 more questions. One is, can the advocate in the same nation work in synergy as a national team?
Yes, that's a very good question. And let me, I will answer that when I go through the toolkit a bit further now, because section 2.6, I think, touch upon that. Yeah, so thank you very much, Gayan, for the question so far. Let me continue with going over the toolkit, and then I will answer some of those questions as we go.
Thank you.
So then what I just presented was about the Humans of My World stories and the toolkits and the book. So please be inspired by it. Please use some of the stories as examples, and then go out and create and get your own stories and data. A third point is on the organization organizing a handover event with local, regional, and national stakeholders. For that, we will send you a global Day of Action toolkit, which we are working on now as we speak. The team in Bonn is working hard on that. What I can say is just that the Global Day of Action last year, we had over 115 countries involved, over 1,000 local actions being taken. We reached over 84 million people offline and online. And this year we aim to make it even bigger. But really soon, and also during one of the webinars, we will go into this in more detail and provide you with more information. The same is for how to document your activities, to write your blog post and all of that. There will be several webinars on social media outreach and advocacy. And then we will also share some of those toolkits with you. Okay. Then the timeline and important dates. You have received all already during the onboarding phase the guidebook, and today we have the welcome on board call. And from next Monday, we start with the preparation phase. So on the 12th of June, we have a digital storytelling webinar. Then on 14th of June, we have a webinar introducing a bit more about the SDGs, about my world, and also the technical details. So how to conduct the survey, but also how to upload votes and everything related to that. We have on the 18th of June how to create your own campaign webinar. And on the 28th of June, we have a webinar on how to increase your online impact. And I think maybe coming back to the point Laura mentioned earlier, this is the first time we pilot the project in the Asean region in this capacity. Myself, I have a long experience and background in working with youth advocates all over the world and running similar programs, but at that time not under the UN flag. So we do have a lot of experience, but still it's a pilot project. And I think that in one hand that's an amazing opportunity for you all, because we are really open to make it a bottom-up process. So let us know whatever you need in terms of trainings, in terms of skills, and all of that. And we will be able to pull it in and to make it happen. So what we will do is that my colleague Ngui will launch a Facebook pool one of those days to ask you about, hey, what are the different webinars or tools or skills you're looking for? And then based on the outcomes of that poll, or based on your opinions or votes, we will then be able to adjust and see if we can get those skills on board to hold an extra webinar or whatever it is that comes out of that. Then after the month of June, which is mostly about preparing yourself, there are several trainings and webinars, but it's also very much about developing your own strategy, setting your targets, your focus groups and all of that. Then in the months of July and August, and also the beginning of September, you will be basically advocates in action. You're going into the field, you're going to implement, you're going to collect votes, you're going to collect stories. Basically everything you feel is needed to make this program a success, and to make people aware of the SDGs, give them the chance to speak out, and also to start taking their own actions. Then we have the last part is the handover events. As I mentioned earlier, on the 25th of September, it's the Global Day of Action, and soon we will share a bit more information with that. This is also a very important section. It's about coordination and support. So what we have is we have bi-monthly calls. So once in the 2 weeks we have a cluster call. We have grouped you all and brought several countries together. If you click here on this link, you will see this schedule. And the first calls will happen this Monday, I believe at 1, 2, and 3 p.m. Bangkok time, depending on which cluster you are in. So this is your chance really to ask questions. I mean, you can ask questions today via the YouTube in-chat function, which is great. But during this time, you really get to present your ideas, your progress, not only to us, but also to your fellow peers in your country and the countries directly bordering you. So that's a very important aspect of the program. Next to that, we have the Facebook group. Many of you are already part of it. Feel free to post, ask questions, share images, whatever it is related to this program and related to your work on the SDGs and all of that. And then, of course, you can always reach out to us via email. Here, if you have both my email as well as the email of Gui. And if you have questions which are directed to the Bangkok office or UNV or whatever it is, you will be able to process them and forward them to the people who are responsible or can best answer your question. Then reporting on progress. At the end of each month or the beginning of the next month, we would like you to submit a brief report on where you're standing. Really, this report is not to give you a lot of work or to to punish you or whatever it is. No, it's really about us understanding the steps you have taken in that month to see where you're standing now and how we can help and guide you best to make both your strategy a reality and to help or assist if there are some problems or challenges along the way. We will share a template. We will share a template for each of the reports very soon. And please, if possible, try to keep to the deadline so that we are able to see and really track your progress and help to intervene and assist when possible.
Yes, there was a question on that, so I'll quickly ask. People are asking whether there's a template for reporting, so you just answered that. The template will come in the near future, I guess. Right?
Yes, exactly. The template will come very soon and will be shared with you via email.
Thank you.
Okay. Then the question 2.6 is working with other advocates. And I think this question also deals with what someone asked, what Joyce said from Indonesia. Can we work in the same nation or as a group? And I think it's that the answer is really it's all up to you. We have set your individual targets and things we expect from you, and that's your individual mandate. But how are you going to realize it? It's really up to you. If you're going to work together with, let's say, the 2 other advocates from Cambodia, you form a team of 3 people, and that way you're able to reach out to more people in different regions and have one bigger handover event, which actually, instead of local stakeholders, also brings a minister on board and really galvanize the whole potential. Great, fantastic. Please go ahead with it. But if you, as an advocate, say, well, I'm based at the university and I'm gathering my university behind it, and through my university I'm able to collect 5,000 votes and the stories and all of that, that's also fine. So really it's up to you to see whether you're going to work in teams or where you organize shared events, or that you say, no, we work on individual level and we just share best practices during the cluster calls. We would encourage both. Please join forces, not only within countries, but even across borders. One example could be, for example, I just showed you the Building Bridges book with all the stories of people we collected through 21 countries. It would be a fantastic end product or something coming out of this program is if all of you combine the stories and create your own Asean My World book or Asian young people stories, whatever it is. So really feel free to think not only jointly in terms of within your country, but also across the region and see how all we can link and make things happening. And another possible way of how to do that is, of course, during the Global Day of Action on the 25th of September. At that moment, people all around the world are taking jointly actions on the SDGs. So that is, of course, also a moment in which you can either say, well, we organize several big events, one in each country, or we organize smaller events, but still tie it all together to this Global Day of Action. So it's really up to you, and we will go, I think, a bit more into this during the cluster calls, in which you get a chance to get to know all of the other advocates from both your country as well as the neighboring countries, and in which you can discuss and see how to go best around it. And maybe a good final thing, or maybe it's also good to add to this, is we have a whole list of all the people who have applied, and of course we need to ask them for permission that we share their details with you. But in case you say, well, we're trying to do something even bigger, or we have formed a national coalition, we are able to share those details if they agree with you, so that you could reach out to them and see if and how they can support you as a team, because they have showed interest, so they are probably very motivated as well to do things and get involved. This is the list of the ASEAN My World 2030 advocates. We will send you a final and updated toolkit later this afternoon, because I've just noticed that there are 1 or 2 names in this list actually who are not part of the program. So that's a mistake on our side. So we'll send you the updated list by later this afternoon. Then introducing ASEAN My World and the My World survey. I think it's an important section here for all of you to understand a bit more about what is the survey, what is its impact, where does it come from. I can say that in leading up to the SDGs, so the reason actually that we have this agenda, there were a lot of consultations, and over 10 million people around the world voted in the first My World survey. And because of they voted in this survey, and one goal 16 on good governance, peace and security came very strong forward through the My World survey. And actually that's one of the reasons why it's now one of the 17 SDGs. So that's how you see that not only change can happen at local national level, but even at the UN at the highest level. One of the 17 SDGs came to be partly due to the My World survey, and having citizens all around the world speaking out and making a strong case why something should be included. So that's something else. Here you find a bit more about the ASEAN My World, the community, why we are working on this, why we started the program in your region, and all of that, the high-level launch during the UN General Assembly last year, all of that. Then this is, I talked to you a bit earlier about your unique My World Partner ID. When you click here, you find your unique URL. So if you use that URL, this is an example for Yin Yi Lai. If you click that URL, votes will automatically be collected under her name. The same is here. This is the overview of how you see the results. If you click here, you see both the combined results of the program, as well as you can select your unique partner ID and basically keep tracking on your progress and how many people you have got to vote online. You can also collect votes offline, then they need to be entered via Excel sheet, which we explain in the webinar next week. Then here on the toolkits and resources, we have listed once again the toolkits and the different available opportunities. It's a bit of a duplicate, but we thought it's important to also list all of them at one place, so you really get a good overview of what tools are available. There's a social media package, which if you click here, it will open. There's a Trello board with already some custom designs related to the ASEAN My World survey. If you create your own designs and own flyers and whatever it is, also please share them with us, because we will add them to the Trello board, so that it not only benefits you, but also other advocates in the region could benefit and use similar tools or designs. Now we're going over to getting started, and I think this is something which you should really do in next weeks. It's a few very simple questions or basic questions, but I think when you answer them or think about them in more detail, it really guides you in creating your strategy, deciding who your partners are, who are you going to partner with, what is the impact you want to have, and all of that. And of course, when we have the webinar, how to create your campaign on the 18th of June, we will discuss all of this also in more detail. But for now, I think it will really help you if you read through the questions, think about it a bit more, and yeah, who are you going to target, offline, online, partners, impact, you want impact local level, national level, all of that. We also created a FAQ, frequently asked questions. If you click on this link, some of the questions you have might be answered in that list already. If not, please email your questions or ask them at any given time, and we will answer them as well as include them in the FAQ. So you always have the latest details. And the last is really we couldn't be more excited to start this program all together. It's a learning experience and it's new for all of us. But looking at your profiles and looking at our background, we think it's the perfect mix. It's the perfect mix to really bring the voices of young people in ASEAN region, of citizens in general, really to the forefront, and to create local, national, and global impact. So I think that's very important, and I think that's why we're all on this call today, why you all applied, because we're all very motivated and have a passion to actually do something good for this world. So that's why we're all in this program, and we're all here to work together. I think that's it from my side. I'm not sure, are there any other questions that have come in?
Yes, this is Gayan. Yes, there's one question from Marie-Chris from Philippines. Can the advocates also come up with policy recommendations in addition to the task of just gathering data?
Okay, that's also a very good question. And maybe I can, again, tell a bit more about how the survey was used in the past and how policy recommendations came from that. So first of all, people start gathering, you create awareness, then you collect data. And then based on that data, you could, for example, hold either multi-stakeholder days or hold, let's say, further dialogues. So let's say if the MyWorld data shows that the three key areas that are people of most concern in your region is, let's say, education, is economic opportunities, and is, let's say, gender equality. Then that alone gives you an idea and a direction of, hey, what's going on in my community and where should we place interventions. But what you could do as next step is that you now organize a small meetup or stakeholder meeting in which you, first of all, select those three priorities, present some of the personal stories, and then hold dialogues around them. So what do we concretely mean with economic opportunities? Is the problem that there are not enough formal jobs? Is the problem that the skills someone gained in university or in school doesn't fit with the skills required on the labor market? Is the problem that there are not enough quality jobs, so that people who have gone to university actually now can only find a job which is way below the level they are qualified for? So I think that's very important. The same counts for education. What's the problem with education? Is it the content that's been taught in universities? Is it the quality of the teachers? Whatever it is. So what I would suggest is that based on the first data and based on this first personal storage, which give you a good direction of what's going on, to then hold this follow-up meetings and really go more in depth and really have these bigger dialogues about what do we mean in concrete terms. And then what comes out of such a dialogue, that can then easily be translated into policy recommendations, saying like, well, based on the votes of 5,000 young people in this region, and based on these personal stories, we hold a follow-up meeting in which we went into more detail. And then actually A, B, C, and D, E, F came out of it. So when you're now going to the stakeholders, you present this whole package, and then they are more likely, I think, to implement or accept your policy recommendations. So I hope that answered some of your questions. And I think that through that way you can use the whole program from start of creating awareness to data collection to actually concrete policy and recommendations, and next step is implementation.
Thank you, Yils. One last question, but before I repeat this question, I would like to ask everyone to subscribe to the video. Click the link at the bottom to subscribe, because then you will get notifications whenever we have a live video or whenever we publish a video. Maybe I can answer this question. The question is from via online, because this is the first time for me to participate in an online discussion. One of the reasons for us to use YouTube is it's the least. The YouTube has the least barriers for accessing. You don't have to install any software or anything on your phone. YouTube comes default, so you can send. And Yels showed you 2 email addresses where you have a focal point. You can contact them, and also if YouTube is your option, post your question here. We'll try to answer it here as well. Even when this live session is over, you still have a question, feel free to post it there. We will try to answer it online.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Gayan, for helping us throughout this webinar. And I'm sure that we will be you will be in touch with the advocates more also, I think, during next week's webinar on My World and all the digital strategies behind it. For now, I think we would like to thank you very much for your participation. We are super excited to get started and start working with you. On Monday, we have the cluster call, so then you can ask questions in person via live video and really also interact with all of the other advocates. So yeah, really let this be the beginning, and throughout the coming weeks and months, work together on making amazing things happening in the ASEAN region, and also really make this program an example and a start to be spread to all corners of the world. So thank you very much. Have a great day, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you.